In this lesson, we are going to add and subtract numbers with decimals in them. And there are really just two steps in order to correctly add and subtract decimals. The first one being the most important, and that is line up the decimals. Make sure all of your place values are lined up. If you do that, you'll be able to add and subtract perfectly with no problem. Alright, so I have a couple examples on here that we can do together. If you want to watch me do the first two, then you can pause the video and try the next two on your own, or just continue along with me. Either way works. Here we go. 4 and 5/10 plus 3 and 2/10. I'm going to make sure that I line up my numbers here, and I always add vertically instead of horizontally. That's just what is easier for me. So 4 and 5/10 plus 3 and 2/10. And I have my tenths lined up and my whole numbers lined up. And I'm just going to add them going straight down. 5 plus 2 is 7. Bring down my decimal. 4 plus 3 is 7. So my answer is 7 and 7/10. Here's another example with subtraction. 14 and 8/10 minus 2 and 65/100. This was what it gets a little trickier, and you'll see why in a second. I have a tenth right here, one number after the decimal, but here I have two numbers after the decimal. It goes all the way to the hundredths. So to solve that, I'm going to write 14 and 8/10. Okay, now I have a ones place, so I'm going to make sure that goes underneath the 4, which is the ones place digit in my other number. Decimal goes right underneath the other decimal right here, and then 65/100. Now as you can tell, it's a little skewed. My numbers aren't right underneath one another. And that's okay. Whenever that happens, you can just add zeros to replace those missing numbers. Okay? So now it's 14 and 80/100 minus 2 and 65/100. And I'm going to subtract just like I would normally. Okay, so here I need to borrow. Cross out that, make it a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down my decimal all the way down. 4 minus 2 is 2, and 1, bring that down. So my answer is 12 and 15/100. Okay, here's another example down here, same thing. I have 3 digits here and 3 digits here, but you'll notice that they're not all in the same place value. So you just have to be careful. Make sure you line up your decimals, okay? And I'm adding this time. So 20 and 4/10 plus 3 and 25/100. Okay, I can put a 0 here to hold that spot and just add it. 4 plus 2 is 6. Bring down my decimal. 0 plus 3 is 3. Bring down my 2. So my answer is 23 and 65/100. Last problem. Now here we have a whole number with a decimal and just subtracting a whole number. So you notice there is no decimal on this. You have to kind of pretend there's one there. Okay? So I have 131 and 4/10 minus 20. And I can add that decimal and I can add a 0 if I want to. Okay, you can add as many zeros as you want to at the end of a number after a decimal. It does not change the number. So 4 minus 0 is 4. Bring down my decimal. 1 minus 0 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. And bring down my other 1. My answer is 111 and 4/10. And as long as you make sure your decimals are lined up, you can go ahead and add and subtract as you normally would. And that's adding and subtracting decimals.